In Stationeers, you play as an astronaut who has to build a base on the Moon, on Mars, or on other worlds. The goal is survival, the gameplay is engineering and solving complex puzzles, effective puzzles. It's not like someone has written something like, I don't know, a crossword, and then you have to solve it, and then, okay, here's your reward. No, the reality that you play in is so complex and has a lot of immersion gameplay that reality itself, the thing that you're wrapped in this survival game, that's the puzzle. And what also is the puzzle is how do you even play the game? Some people do not really push hard enough to use all the tools available, like for example the tutorials, which tell you, for example, as the very first step that you have to press the left Alt key to get a mouse pointer in the game, which makes things so much more intuitive and easy, that they ultimately don't find their path into this game. But that shouldn't be the case, because this game is just too good. You don't want to miss out on this one. I have 2,000 hours, over 2,000 hours. Steam says 2,500. Other people too. 100 hours is the least that you will get in this game, because that's about roughly like one playthrough. But the game has incredible replay value. I mean, whenever you start over, even if you do these things in the same way as before, there will be a slight alteration here or there, which will be the seed for a completely altered gameplay ultimately. Usually that's the case. Anyway, so you can play on various worlds. I will just switch through them. These down here are harder, so you might not want to play those first. Let's start with the first one, Mars. On easy difficulty, of course. Not creative, because as you can see here on the right, many things are disabled. That's not a real simulation, that's not real gameplay. It allows you though to experiment with things, but be careful, you don't want to spoil the experience. You want to believe the simulation. So it took me a long time before I ultimately played creative. I had to immunize myself first. What I found super fascinating about this game when I first encountered it is that you have a complex, deep inventory and even a spacesuit that is simulated. So you're not just someone standing there with a health bar. So you're not just someone standing there with a health bar or something. But this game really simulates gases, pressure, temperature. It's all in here. All the things that you missed in all those other games who pretended that they would take you there but didn't. Here you have multiple gases to play with, which you can mix, and volatiles together with oxygen will combust if you light them on fire or if the heat is high enough. And gases have different phases. You can freeze them to a solid, you can liquefy them, or they can actually be gas. And if they turn from liquid to gas, they will get colder. From gas to liquid, they will get hotter, just like in the real world. So you can build actual refrigeration cycles here, just with pressure. But there's also an actual AC in here, various ones even. And for example, if you want to cool your station on the Moon, here's what you can do. The Moon, this is not the Moon, this is Mars. The Moon has a vacuum. And so you could radiate the heat away into the vacuum. So what you can do is you can pump the gas from your station into a pipe outside your station. You can attach some radiators on it, which are not necessary because pipes themselves and other containers too already have convection and radiation thermal energy exchange. So they are already radiating your heat away, but only very weakly in comparison to when you attach some radiators. And when you do that, that will cool your station, and when it's cool enough, you just suck the pipe empty again. That's one thing you can do, and it's a completely emergent solution. Just like the airlocks in this game are a completely emergent solution. They are not a crafting recipe. You build a room that has a door that opens, you go in, the door closes, the room will be evacuated, a gas sensor will tell the logic that is employed that the room is now actually empty, evacuated, so then the other door can open. Or maybe you want to even repressurize the airlock with gas from the other side first. It's all your choice. You're free to do it, and you can engineer it in any way you like. I have basically only good words to say about this game and about the developer team. I'm playing the beta version here. Beta version doesn't mean early access. The game is early access still. after 8 years. But that shouldn't bother you, because if an AAA studio, Ubisoft or whatever, releases a game and you buy that for $65, crazy prices, and this game costs $34 full price and it's worth every penny, then you will usually get the crashes and the slow frame rate and so forth. This game, though, is thoroughly developed. And if you're lucky, then you will get some patches. This game doesn't need any patches. This is the beta version, the one that comes out every day. A new one every day. On average, that's true. We had 2 Sundays, for example, a few months ago. On each Sunday, we had 7 updates. Dude! And I don't have crashes. I record videos 7-8 hours long in one sitting. No crashes. That's how stable this super deep simulation is. But you need a beefy machine. You need lots of threads in your processor, because this game uses a lot of multi-threading. Anyway, so now that we're here on this world, on Mars, let's feel it a bit. Here you can see what the pressure is, very low. On Earth at sea level, we have 101 kilopascals. Let's just say 100. The number here is not the Earth sea level pressure. This is the pressure set in your suit, which coincidentally is the same pressure. That's the pressure that your suit system, which is here. By the way, I'm pressing the left Alt key to get the mouse pointer, which the first tutorial step of the first tutorial will also tell you. So here we have the suit, and you can see that I can set the pressure, the target pressure, higher or lower, and the suit will then slowly adapt. Let me just turn the filters off, the air off, and the AC off to teach you a few things about the spacesuit. Yes, indeed, now they are off. In Stationeers, most buttons will tell you what they will do when you click them, so you have to think intention-based. Oh, by the way, do you see this? My light is still on, and this will consume battery hard. You should turn it off when you don't need it. You can do that either here or by pressing L. The screen tells you that here, L. And you should look at the hints on the screen, because they're really helpful. Here, for example, we see a tooltip. This one's dynamic. It tells you the lander will be damaged by dust storms, but if I, for example, have a tool in my hand, it will tell you different things. It will tell you that an angle grinder can be used to deconstruct this thing, and then it will be gone, and all the things will fall to the ground. But I don't want to do this right now.
Oxygen critical.
I will show these things more thoroughly. I'm just, there's so much to explain here, where to start even. Anyway, so you can see here that the temperature in my suit is increasing, and you can also see that the pressure is now 55 kilopascals instead of 90 something. And when we go up here, we see a tooltip that tells us that the partial pressure, so the oxygen pressure within the air mixture that is in the suit, is at 1.8, 1.7, 1.6 kilopascals, and now I'm beginning to go unconscious, which is not good. So let's turn the air back on, which will also lower the temperature, because the gas here in that oxygen canister has 20 degrees Celsius by default. We can of course fill it with gas of a different temperature. Anyway, so that cooled down the suit. Why is it still so hot then? Because the AC logic is off, which will cool the suit by those same means. It will use oxygen from your air tank. See, now it's getting colder. My filters are still off. You can see that here because the intention button is saying if you click here it will turn on. And you can see here that the pressure is at 98 kilopascals. It will reach 99 and then it will reach 100.
Oxygen low.
Oh, and then this thing starts again. It tells you that the partial pressure of oxygen is too low. See, 99. Why is that? Because you're breathing in the oxygen that is being put into your suit, where it was a bit too hot a minute ago. See, that's a real volume in which your body is stimulated. You even have a brain. That's kind of maybe rather an inside joke or something that the developers pulled to decide whether someone is actually inhabiting the person, the avatar on a server or not. I don't know. Anyway, so and you have lungs, and those lungs are currently suffering the absence of oxygen. So let me turn the filters back on, because the suit is currently full of CO2, and we can no longer put any more oxygen here from the tank into the suit, because the suit is full. Here, that's the pressure. Or I can just, increase the target pressure, which allows some more oxygen to be filled in there. That will calm down the situation. For the time being. Not for long. Because the problem is of course still the same. There's various ways to solve that, and you should really know that you can flush your spacesuit. I will do that soon. Oh, and you can unlock your helmet also. So you can press I to open it.
Oxygen low.
See? The same oxygen problem again. So what I can do now is I can flush the suit,
Oxygen critical.
which will completely swap out the atmosphere in it with fresh oxygen. So that's pretty wasteful, but it solves the immediate problem pretty well.
Pressure critical.
Poor girl. Anyway, let's turn the filters back on, so that we don't no longer have this problem. And now we even have less pressure in here. You can see that the day-night cycle is pretty fast in this game, 20 minutes actually, for a full day-night. And that's very annoying, but you can alter that. I can show you right now how that works, but just so that you know that it can be done. So that you're not pissed off by that, because I am thoroughly pissed off by games doing it like that. Thankfully, this here at least allows you to cheat yourself out of it. So if I type help here, in the console, which you can open with F3, then you can see lots of commands, which are not for you, they are not gameplay related, but you can do a few things here. For example, orbit. Now you can see some parameters down here, the first like 20-30 lines there, and one of them is saying time scale, and it's currently at 0.000 whatever, and I can change that. Orbit time scale, let's say 1 for example. That's a bit fast. 0.0001, and that's the speed that we have now. The shadow, the sun is still setting up. I don't know how fast this is in comparison. I guess it's about 1/5 of the speed that we had normally. On the moon you will have a different base timescale, so if you want to alter that, you have to look at the number and then do that, if you want to do that. Of course, later when we're getting to greenhousing, you will realize, oops, changing the timescale was not a good idea, because now you have to take care about the light and the darkness, because plants also need darkness. Because they always stay on their 20-minute logic. So you need to protect them from the sun, as they want to get the darkness. You will have to control their light situation with a plant light, with a grow light, which is actually part of your landing gear here. I just want to set the sun to noon basically and then freeze it there, because this is an explanation video, not an actual playthrough. I think that's fair. With F2 you can hide the user interface, with F1 you get help, that's also shown here at the left top, and with F3 you get the console. And there is the sun, somewhere. Well, then I'm going to freeze it. Orbit timescale 0. Alright, this doesn't save with your save game, so if you think, oh my god, I'm losing the base number there, I forgot it. What was it again? I didn't remember it. If you load your save game, the normal timing will be restored, so then you have to press escape quickly and do that thing here down here again, if you so wish. Anyway, but normally you don't need console hacks, just when you want some reasonable day-night timing. Anyway, so we need to, we have seen now the spacesuit and how deep that simulation is. Now let's look a bit more at the inventory. Here we have the handheld tablet. I will put that in my hand. You can also just click the right mouse button, which makes the drag and drop operation a bit faster. And you will do a lot of hand swapping here, because these are your hands. This is how you use stuff. One thing in your left hand, one thing in your right hand. You cannot really play it in third person, it's just a way to look at things. So, when I hold it in my hand, I can turn it on with the right mouse button. Or with O, you can see that on screen. I don't know what your key would be, of course mine might not change because I have played for a long time and I've adapted things. For example, the jetpack with which you can fly around and which needs some nitrogen, you can see here that it's counting down, or could be a different gas, is on shift for me, but normally is on J. Well, you can figure that out yourself. Just look at the settings, controls, and then you will see all that stuff here. A bunch of that is actually not necessary, but much of it is, and you want to figure that out. The game is worth it. You really want to lean into this. Anyway, so I can now drag a cartridge into this thing by, for example, open its inventory because it has one. Yep, the things can be stacked inside and stacked inside. And here we can see the slot for the cartridge. So I can drag it in here or right here. And if I turn it on then we see, aha, the environment has this pressure, which is about, well, 1/10th, 1/20th, 1/30, I don't know, very low pressure in comparison to the 101 kilopascals. There's no liquid here, could be though, and there's indeed in-world liquid that you can see flowing around. It's a box-wise simulation, you will see, but we have in-world liquids. We see the temperature. If the sun would be higher, we would even have 15 degrees, I guess, and during the night on Mars it can get minus 40 degrees. So once you have built your station box, the first survival box basically, you might want to close it up during the day, because if you do that during the night, then you will start off with a temperature that's too cold for you to breathe without getting lung damage. Anyway, so we can see there's some CO2 here, the stuff that we breathe out, some O2 even, also very, very low partial pressure, some nitrogen, and some pollutant. Pollutant is just poison gas. That's even excreted when you use spray paint inside your station, or when you weld something. Yep, all of that is stuff that you have to play with and have to deal with also. Okay, let's take a look at the equipment here. Some of it is in the shadow, and the shadows in Stationeers are sadly a bit crass. That is really one of the big downsides of this game, which is awesome, is super awesome and stellar and wonderful, but, well, it isn't perfect. So if I point here, it tells me fastened in crate slot on lander Mark II, a wrench can be used to unfasten. We have a wrench actually. Down here we have our tool belt, and there is the wrench, right mouse button, and then it falls down. These are the construction supplies, even the first ones I don't need to show you. So here we have a furnace that would turn raw ore into ingots, but there are 3 types of furnaces in this game, make no mistake. This one is just one that you need to power. You stuff something in, push a button, wait a bit, and then you get your product. But there's also a furnace where you have to put, well, you have to put the right materials in to get the right stuff out, and the right pressure, and the right temperature range. This is one of the 4, 5, 6, 7 different 3D printers that we have, but you primarily need 3, or maybe 4 if you also count the tool printer. Then we have some frames. Let's take this and start building. Right mouse button to build. Now you can see the entire world is built out of some kind of box logic. And so we're beginning to build our base foundation. At the beginning you don't want to build too big, because then you will suddenly realize, oh damn, I don't have enough materials to close this up. I mean, it's not a hard problem, you can just unbuild it again without losses, other than the time that you're losing. And well, as a total beginner, years ago, and I wish I had some recordings of that, man, I've completely forgotten how that was. I mean, you are lucky, I really envy you that you don't know this game yet, that you can get into this fresh. So as a total beginner, I was standing in front of the lander on the moon, because the moon back then was the first world. It's still in the game, it's the second one now. And then I was looking around and clicking some things, and I didn't know what to do. Then finally I went through the tutorials, which were different back then. So I understood how to make an airlock, how to build a frame. It's really a lot of stuff that you have to learn. And now you might ask yourself, why should I do this? Well, I had this game for about a year before I really went into it. And then I tried to push in, and it didn't work. And then finally I managed to get over the initial hump. And since then I've basically, well, 80% of my entire game time of 2 years is this game. Right, so now we have this foundation, which is obviously a bit incomplete, because there are some holes in here. Now we look at this while holding a tool. Doesn't matter which tool really. And then the tooltip will inform us. Now we don't have a tooltip, now we have a tooltip and it's informative. It's saying welding torch and 1 iron sheet required to continue construction. Aha, that's how we can close this up. And the angle grinder is required to deconstruct. So let's try this. Angle grinder. There we go. The sound of the angle grinder would be slightly different if the helmet were open, and it would even be more slightly different if the pressure wouldn't be so very low. On the moon you hear nothing, or basically nothing, until you have some gas in your station. One of the reasons, I presume, why the developers chose to move Mars into the first spot, so that players get more data in their head to learn how to replay this game. When you hear the pipes creak from overpressure, or stuff like that, you know? So, iron sheets, it said. Well, iron sheets then. And what did it say again? I forgot. Well, just take a tool, then look at... Usually we use a screwdriver, because it's most probably an unfitting tool. Because if you find a tool that is fitting, like this one, it will just tell you, this now deconstructs the frame. But I want to get that information, man. So I use a different tool. So, welding torch and 1 iron sheet. Welding torch. Well, that's this thing here, the welding torch. And now the tooltip is telling me the welding torch is not currently operable for this task. Once again, the right mouse button is here to save you, or whatever key is shown down there, or again in the settings. Because down here you can see what buttons you have to push. You have to push E to swap hands, Q to toss, or to drop, T to place carefully. And while you're placing carefully, you can also rotate with the 6 keys above the arrow keys. They are not telling you that here, but they're telling you that for many other occasions, so that you then know, oh, those keys are for that. Okay, fine. So we have to turn this thing on. Let's do that then. And look at the pressure around me and the temperature. Yeah, it's getting warmer because there's a flame right here. And in other games, this would be a gimmick. This would be implemented so that you are pleased, so that things feel more realistic. In this game, it's not implemented at all. It's just emergent. It just happens because there's gas coming out of this thing. Case in point. Look here. Or maybe we can place this thing. Can I place this precisely here? That would be cool now. There we go. Oh. Oh, I assumed this can actually stand there. Oh well. Anyway, I would like to crouch now, but I can't. That's certainly not implemented. Running is also not a possibility, which is why the left shift key really is kind of the best way to place your jetpack. See, temperature is higher, and we're getting some slightly different gas mixture here. And while we're doing this, gas is actually being consumed. You might think, okay, this is special welding gas, right? No, it's not. It's not special welding gas. It is just fuel gas. It's just oxygen, and 2/3 of it are volatiles. Like I said, well, in case I forgot, volatiles. Yeah, F1 is for help, F3 for console, F2 for user interface, F1 for help, and by the way, F5 for quick saving, if you don't want to do that here in the menu. So with F1 I get to the gases, and then we can see volatiles. Volatiles is a combustible fuel. It is refined from ice volatiles. The texts up here, these human text, you should basically ignore. They could be incorrect, but the stuff down here, all of this techno stuff, that comes directly from the simulation, so you can rely on it. So whenever there's volatiles and some oxygen, then you know that you don't want an open flame. So this is not welding gas. This is just gas that happens to have the combustion effect, and is then that thing that you can use in your welder. Okay, let's weld this then. Weld, weld, weld. Okay, you have seen now I welded twice. Let's weld only once. See, we can now build here and we can now walk here, but it's not hermetically sealed. Over here, that is hermetically sealed. as you can hear, the sound is changing a bit. That's because the pressure is changing a bit. So whatever you can hear is transported in a different way to your ears. Well, if your mouth is currently not open, then I don't know what you expect. I mean, there are no games where you can have a first-person 3D experience with this depth of simulation, and you haven't seen much yet. I'm out of iron sheets, good thing I have more of these. But it shows that I probably overbuilt a bit. Now let's see. I mean, it's not like we're fucked or whatever. So right mouse button, and the hands are free. And the next thing we want to do is unscrew everything that we have here and transport it on here, because we want to wall this up. And why should I squeeze all of that stuff through my door, let alone through my airlock? It's best to just place it here. That makes it quicker. Now you might think, why not just deconstruct this? Do we still need this? Yeah, no, we don't need it, but take a look here at the tablet. We also have a tracker, and it's currently showing me owner of the place, and my distance is pretty much 0 because I'm holding this thing in my hand. But if you use the mouse wheel, and that's really a thing that we keep telling the developers, which are very responsive, we love these guys, to change, please, so that they put a tooltip here, but they keep forgetting. I don't know, because people are beginners like you. They don't know that you can use the mouse wheel here to select a different beacon. And there we see it. The lander itself is a beacon, and this beacon doesn't need any power. This one doesn't. The ones that you would be using and implementing, they do need power. So you need to make sure that they're running, that they have power. Batteries shouldn't run out, or if it's a big one installed in the station, then that consumes a lot of power. You want to turn that off while you're there automatically, ideally, because you can program stuff here, you know. You have logic devices, a logic gate, and or whatever, logic compare greater, less than, math unary, like apps, I guess, or max or min. Then the batch writer, with which you can say all the lights in your station turn on, or the logic reader, with which you can read, is this switch turned on or off, and this value then can be used by a different such chip to be handed over to other devices so that they do stuff. But while this is fun and useful and suitable for beginners, there's something better. You can program. You can actually program, you can write assembly programs in an editor that's inside of the game. It's pretty convenient, actually. I mean, it's not as convenient as IntelliJ IDEA or something like that, but I mean, in principle, you have this IC10 chip on which you can write programs, and this thing will run them then. And so you can read, is the door open, mirror that in another door, or if something has been tossed into the arc furnace, automatically turn it on and activate it, or check if the centrifuges are full, so empty them, and once they're emptied, close them up again for the next batch of stuff to run. Or you can say, as soon as I enter the room, the lights shall turn on, and so forth. You can do most of these things also with the logic chips, but that quickly gets expensive. I mean, lots of chips, that's what I mean. That's in there too. I mean, this game is ridiculous. The devs are completely insane. I told you that they I mean, this game, like I said, is super stable, so there must be crazy developers, kind of. Their boss, by the way, Dean Hall, is a developer, and he is the guy who was doing these 14 updates on those 2 Sundays that I told you about, if I haven't forgotten that in this attempt of making this video. Yeah, well, we get fresh updates every day, on average. But the public updates that you would normally get if you buy this game now without selecting the beta branch, which is easy, right mouse button on the game in the Steam library, properties, betas, and then you select the beta from the drop down, and then you should turn off autosave, because you want to be in control of which version of the game overrides which save game, right? By the way, the save game system is very safe. You have a rotation of autosaves and quick saves, and you can also do manual saves, as many as you want. These ones are maximum 5. You can set that to a higher value, and if you set that to a lower value, again, the higher value ones will not be deleted. It's just that if you save a game, then it will be saved, and afterwards the program checks, is the maximum amount of save games greater than whatever value has been set here? Yes. Then it will take the oldest save game and delete that, only one. So it's very, very, very safe. So if you just use the public version, then you will get an update like once a month or every 2 months, stuff like that. We just came out of a dark 6-month shadow where the developers implemented this new beautiful terrain system, which renders faster, is bigger, has better weather events, and so forth and so on. So there was a long stretch, and the biggest update ever was even the name of the update, even though they have had very big updates already. Anyway, I'm saying these are crazy good developers with a crazy good heart also. This game doesn't have any DRM, and they're saying, dude, if you want to demo this game, we cannot support another dev branch. It's just, I mean, the game isn't making money. They're getting paid, of course, for the game, but the game isn't making the money that it costs to make it. They're financing this with other projects. So they're saying, we cannot support another dev branch. If you want to test that, just copy it. It doesn't have any DRM. And then when you like it, keep it and pay us. If you don't like it, delete it. You know, that's what they're saying. So no DRM whatsoever. Okay, where was I? And they also said, if they ever go bankrupt or whatever, for example, if Unity pulls another fast one like they tried about a year ago when they said, hey, Stationeers team, we will shut down your offices in 2 weeks if you don't pay us, stuff like that in principle. That's kind of how it was. It's a bit hyperbolic how I described it now, but the 2 weeks, that was real. And preventing them from developing further, that was also real. I don't know how that was resolved. So if that would ever happen again, the devs said, well, then we will either do the push that costs us like $2 million or whatever to get this on a different engine, or we will actually make it open source. This game will not die. And once it goes version 1.0, we fear that people will think that development stops. But they're saying explicitly, we will keep developing this fucking game. We will not stop. This is our big love project, and we want to keep going. And, well, this game is absolutely unique. So, we don't want to deconstruct that beacon. So I'd rather remove the things individually here. There we have a water tank, which has indeed liquid in it. There we have an oxygen tank. Let me just demonstrate something. I will take my oxygen canister here, which has 4.3 megapascals, 4.3 megapascals pressure currently in it. And we take a look here. We can see this thing has 7.71 megapascals. I can, by the way, change the translucency of my tooltips. Maybe that is helpful. And then, pop.
Airtight critical.
Maybe you saw that the needle went down a little. And the oxygen canister now has the same pressure as this thing, because it's just pressure equalization, obviously. Yeah. You can also affix these tanks on a special holder kind of thing that we also have in our landing gear, or otherwise you would just print it. With the hydraulic pipe bender, one of the 3 most essential printers. And then it will not just be usable by canisters that you stick into them, but they will have a pipe connection. Pipes in Stationeers are funny. If you see one, it will not excrete any pressure because they are always closed. You can stick a pipe onto that pipe, like you make it longer, and then between them they will be open. But to the outside they will be closed, so that makes it very easy to handle all that. So again, you have two hands, and currently I need to use a free one. So let's take this one then. Click. Very straightforward with all these hover handles. And there are really many hover handles. I mean, look at the drill, for example. I can pick up the drill. Fall over already. And I can take the battery out like this, for example. I think that the welding torch is similar. Can I turn that on? Yep. And though I just realized it's a bit weird that you push this button, because I wonder what button you're pushing to actually weld. Anyway, and you can take out that canister. You can also put that, I can swap this canister and that one. They're not special, it's just a canister. The color is just a color. The name is just a name. The rest is emergent. So yeah, this is all real. So if you ever wanted a survival game in which you're just a first-person human who is exposed to the elements with a deep simulation, with temperature, with pressure, with, well, that's kind of what it is.
Power low.
And, well, you have to eat and drink also, you see that down here. Stationeers is the way to go. And there we have a fuel tank, which has exactly the stuff that I showed you our welding torch has. Okay, do we have everything? Nothing left here, nothing left here. Alrighty. One of the first things that you might be interested in is how do you store all this stuff? Do we keep these things around? If you wish. There's also something where you can mount these containers, but we also have lockers, various kinds, where might there be survival supplies. Locker. Okay, let's take this thing, which is just a transport carton, where you... Well, once you have unpacked everything, this carton goes away. There it is. Oh, and this is the container mount. See, I can place it here, then it is affixed, then I can drag the container onto it, and then I will use the wrench, which will affix it completely. So I'm clicking the right mouse button to build once again, like I also built the frames. Then I can use the mouse wheel to select the various kinds of lockers, but the one I just had there is the one I want to use because, well, it has the most storage space. There we go. Nice. And as you can see, I had two, but now I have none. This big one requires 2 kits locker. So what you just saw was I was holding a kit, or a stack of kits, and I used the mouse wheel to select what I want to build after I had pressed the right mouse button. And this is how it works throughout the entire game. It's very systematic. Speaking of which, let's build some walls. Iron wall, that's what we start with. What I normally use here is glass walls, which is possibly a bit boring to those who have seen me do it, but what are you doing watching this introduction video, man? So, and then we can select the different wall types. They're all just decorative, they're closed, they're dark basically. I mean, like they let no light through, but I want a window. So I do this. Now you might ask, okay, what is this green box right here? That is of course the world box in which it is being built. So if I build that here, it will be built next to the station. You might ask then, will that be airtight? Yup. So what if I build the other one on this side? Will that be airtight? Yup. I mean, not like this, they're not yet complete, but they will be airtight. So what's the choice? How is that choice then being made? Well, you will be placing cables and pipes. and that will require you to have access to those cables. And here, with the wall outside, you can do that. With the other wall, you won't have access to the cables because they will just be between these two walls, or would be, if I would place them directly adjacent. I can place another wall here, yeah, from this side, of course, if I wish. You can also see there's some kind of decoration side here. This is the decorated side, and this is the bland side. The decorated side is always towards the outside. How you build that is really your choice, but there's such a thing as best practice. You can see in that tooltip right there that I have to use the 6 keys above the arrow keys to effect rotation. I can actually put a different wall here because there's a locker here. Why should that be translucent? Just to change things up, and maybe this saves me a little bit of material. Because the windows, they are relatively luxurious. And we can also make a roof. Same rule applies. I want to have access to any cables that I place there, so I put them on the outside side. And the next set of walls, where are they? There we go. So you see why the jetpack is pretty useful to have right from the start. You might think, well, there's a lot of little fiddly stuff here that I have to do to get to where, I ask you. Where do you want to go? The game has a very nice mixture of things that you have to do to get to the things that you want to do. They mesh so well together that everything will end up being the thing that you want to do. This is one of those games that you play and then, oops, that was 2 hours? Case in point, how old is the video now? 42 minutes. Did it feel like that? Well, to you, probably. Anyway. So now I can put up the last wall here, and of course we need an entrance. And I left this front porch kind of thing where I can also place the arc furnace, the thing that smelts the ore. And I certainly don't want to have those gases in my breathing chamber here, so I will leave that on the outside. And somewhere here there will have to be the door. I will choose this here. So I come in here, and then what? Then I'm inside. No, this is the airlock. So we need 2 doors. And I can build it around the corner like this, or I can build it straight. To change things up for people who only know it straight, I will build it around the corner, so you can see what that's like. So like I said, this is not yet the complete wall. What is then necessary to build it completely? Haha. Screwdriver. Tooltip. Angle grinder required to deconstruct, you saw me do that earlier. And iron sheets required to continue construction. But then you will see they're still not completed. Like I said, they're a bit luxurious. So where's the iron sheet? Oh, there. So I will already pick out the glass that we will also need. Let me do the ceiling first, because that's the thing that I easiest forget. Okay. You would have to click here, and then you have built this, and it's still open. And then you do this. And you can be efficient about it if you wish. Just hold down the button and hold down the button. Bop, solved. See, it's a game about knowledge, about skill, and about emergent gameplay, about self-experience, immersion, a long science fiction or astronaut adventure, a long learning journey for you as the player, so that you can, so that you understand the game. I mean, I played for over 2,300 hours before I started with rocketry, which I am now very much into because it's really fun. Because rocketry is its entire own can of worms. You have to put in a drive and You have to put fuel in, but the fuel has weight, of course, and, well, the fuel will be contained in things that you have to put there first, little tanks, but they take space, and it's kind of a puzzle game where you place what. Okay, let me show you something. If later the thing is constructed completely, all walls closed, you want to do a quick check and run around with a crowbar, you can see that one's closed. This one, oh, it's not lighting up. Now it's lighting up because I'm pointing at the corner. You have to, at the frame, you have to point at the middle to really use this for checking. Because checking the roof is easier, you would just fall in. But you want to be sure before you unleash any gases in there. So will I then open my oxygen tank that I showed you, with which I refilled the oxygen canister of my suit? No, definitely not, because that's a waste. That's a waste of good, pure oxygen. Like I showed you earlier, whatever's pumped... Well, did I show you earlier? This is the oxygen.
Air tank critical.
That we have. Oops, that's the tracker. 20 degrees Celsius oxygen. Pure oxygen. But what would happen if that would also be nitrogen? Oh, that's poisonous. It's not. On Earth we have 79% nitrogen in the atmosphere, 20% oxygen, 0.0 something percent CO2, and the rest are noble gases, trace gases. So nitrogen is completely harmless. But if you have nitrogen also here in my air tank, what happens is that comes into my suit. Into my suit where I am, and then I breathe in the oxygen and breathe out the CO2, and then the CO2 will be removed, the nitrogen will not be removed. And so then we have that problem again. The pressure increases, at some point no more oxygen can be, or whatever the mixture is here, can be pumped into the suit, and then I suffocate. And, well, then you will just click flush again, which solves the problem, at least for a minute or two. Or you put a nitrogen filter here, or you make sure that you have pure oxygen here from the get-go. By the way,
Waste tank critical.
here's the waste tank. You can see there's lots of oxygen in there, because that is also used, you can see it here, to cool me down. That's what the AC uses. So if you ever have a situation where you're running out of oxygen, when you have no oxygen left, it might actually save you a little bit to swap the waste tank and the air tank, because there's some oxygen in here. It's pretty hot, so it's not the best solution, but that's better than suffocating, I guess. And what do you do if you have no more propellant, but you need to fly yourself out of a rut? Well, just swap these then. Fart out some waste gas, why not? Best game ever. Well, I see that I have overbuilt. The room is too big. I cannot close it up. I mean, I can close it up kinda, but I see these iron sheets are also needed for other things. And so what I will do now is I will already show you the arc furnace in action. We have to build some other stuff now before we can really close up the station. So I did it wrong, but I can compensate. You will of course do it right. You know how to do it. You can be better than me. You can, I mean, like when you then play this, then you will not just be doing what I have done, but you will do your own design according to the parameters that you're learning. You're understanding. That's more fun. That's what I'm saying. So let's put this thing here. Maybe I will. We can point this up here in the sky. We can see there's a little lightning there. That's for electricity, and there's a little. That's like 3 squares that are in a tree, kind of in a tree construct. That's the symbol for data or for logic. And I currently won't make use of the data connection. I don't want to control this device just yet, but I need to give power to it. And now let's look at cabling. Haha, because we also have to put up cables. Yes, bit by bit. You can see here we have various shapes of cables, but don't fret. We don't actually have to do it like this, where you have to pick out the right cable and then on top of that also rotate it right, which would just be ridiculous. Instead, what we can do is we can just use the straight and curved cable. And if I ever want to do something funny with it, then the tooltip already tells me merging requires wire cutters. In other hand. And look, now I can just place the cable and then the respective form emerges. So it's very easy. The same for pipes. They are used in this, they are laid in this very same way. But what am I doing? This thing needs power. Where is the power coming from? I have power in my suit, not much by the way left. We would need some power source, right? Well, we have wind here, and we have sun. So we have some power source here. Airlock supplies, survival supplies. Oh, electrical supplies. Nice. What does this stuff have? Well, we have a battery that is at 100%, yet it is not blue. Why is it not blue? Because full battery means blue. That means that we're seeing the 100% here. That's a rounding error. I mean, it's not an error, not a bug. I'm saying if it has no decimal places to show you, then 99.7% means 100. But it's not full. Why are they no longer full? Who consumed them? The cold did. If things get cold, batteries discharge. Yup. So here we have a battery, just like this one. And then we have, oh, there's a battery charger. So I can just put that here then and put the battery in and charge it how? With the power source, right? And can I also use the battery here to power something else? And not from this thing. There is a device though that does that. A device that does both. That charges batteries and also discharges them. Basically a buffer. And that device is also in here. It's one of the most important devices in the entire game. The area power controller. I see that my airlock construction is not optimal. I will actually change my construction to straight airlock because it's more optimal for the placement of the area power controllers here. Otherwise I would have to lead this cable. Or should I? See, these considerations come in. This puzzle game, it's a real-time action survival puzzle game with a very high complexity, simulation of electricity. Don't use too much electricity through such a cable. The load must not be too high, else the cable will explode. Yep. We also have bigger cables.
Power critical.
So this here is the 5 kilowatt cable that I'm currently using. We also have the heavy cables, which can withstand 100,000 watts load. And we even have the super heavy cables, which are very new, they're like 3 weeks old, really new, with 500,000 watts max. Do I still have my lights on? What a waste. But no, I guess I will keep the airlock like this, because I mean this will just be on the cable network that I have inside my station in general, where I have my printers and such, and so there will be cables all over the place. So why should this cable be in the way? It's not a problem. Alrighty, so but where will the power be coming from? Solar panel basic. There are various kinds of solar panels. This one cannot be pointed actively at the sun. You can just place it somewhere and then hope that the sun will reach it somewhat. There are 2 build types, diagonal and horizontal. So you can build them diagonally or vertically or flat. Now it is not producing anything because we still need to complete the construction, which once again a tooltip will tell you. By the way, I need some building materials very often. Let me just get some free inventory space here and carry those with me, else it's just ridiculous. By the way, the duct tape, if you ever have a damaged suit and gas is escaping, which also means that gas is coming in from the environment, which can be bad, press the right mouse button while you're holding this thing in the active hand, which will then slowly repair the suit. It will not fully repair them, it will just, you know, close it up. Okay. The flares are pretty fun. On Europa, for example, which is one of the favorite worlds of many people, it's very cold, minus 140 degrees. And you can actually heat up your station with these things. You need many of them, of course. And there are other ways. I mean, you can, for example, just set your air on fire. No, I'm not kidding you. This is this is an actual viable approach. I will now swap the tool belt with the mining belt that I just saw there in my inventory, because when I then mine something, what I mine will come into my belt directly, else it would fall to the ground. Right mouse button to activate the mining drill. What I just mined, by the way, is basically oxygen. You can look that up here. Ores. Let me find the where is it? The oxide, and then we can see when we scroll down, this is the oxygen in there, and there's also some nitrogen. Harmless, but you know, I told you about the spacesuit. There's some things to consider. Right mouse button, close, and there was even a little pickaxe in there for the Minecraft inclined. Alright, so let's make the solar panel an actual solar panel. I hope that we get some power here, else we'll have to cheat again. 170 watts coming in. Let me just activate the sun, so to speak. Window height 10, and then orbit timescale 0.0001. Is the sun moving? It is. It's moving into a position that is more to my liking. That's not how you play this game, of course. Anyway, now we have a power source, and what I need to do, obviously, I need to get the power into the station. I could now take the cable from here and pipe it directly into this thing, but we're only getting 200 watts, and only while the sun is shining on this thing. So, if the sun is no longer shining, the device cannot be used. If the device uses more than 200 watts, or 184, which it will, actually, because the smelteria, it does need some power, then it can't operate. So we need a different power source. And the power source that I'm looking for, where is it? There, the area power controller. I'm just thinking about how to wire this up. Airlock, airlock, airlock. Maybe like this. There are two build types here you can select with the mouse wheel, but it's only a cosmetic change. It's just mirroring the device. So it's just a matter of taste.
Hydration critical.
Yeah, I'm currently kind of in a critical situation because I'm wasting so much time talking. So now that we have this, we want to make use of the batteries. And use a crowbar to open this thing. You can see the tooltip says that when you are pointing at it with no tool or with a screwdriver. Yeah, then also. And then I put the batteries in. And then I will swap the battery with mine, because mine's pretty empty. By the way, if you're in a pinch, you can also use these batteries in your suit, but they only have 1/8 of the capacity of these ones. Yeah, let's take a look at that. Do I have my light on? Yep. Assault and battery. There are even wireless batteries, which you can operate with an Omni transmitter, which must not be too far away, and the further away it is, of course, the less power you get. But so you can just run your tools and everything without ever charging them or changing the batteries, unless you leave your station, of course. Then you will rather quickly be out of power. Small battery, 36 kilowatts, which is currently the way the power capacity is written. This, of course, needs to be kilojoules, and then maybe it needs to be 72 kilojoules, because the game simulates in half-second steps. And so, whatever. 36, 288, and there's even nuclear batteries, 2.3 megawatts. But we also have batteries that are actually for the station, which you install locally. That is one of those. You can see here 3.6 megawatts, a little bit more than a nuclear battery. And of these, we even have a bigger one, but that's it then. The station battery large, which has 9 megawatts capacity, which should be joules, like I said. Because, I mean, 1 joule, 1 watt is 1 joule per second. So through this cable flows at a certain speed the energy, 1 watt, 1 joule per second. And so, in summary, 1 watt. And when it then arrives, for example, in the battery, then what will be stored in the battery is not something that flows, like watts. It's something that's like standing water in a glass. That's joules. Jules Verne's. Now let's make sure that we get some power here from the sun. How you lay your cables is pretty arbitrary. So, oh look, the thing is now blue, because the thing is now full. Thank you, sun. And here we go. 2% and 3%. The battery is now being charged by solar power. We also have wind turbines in this game. Small ones which are upright, and big ones, really tall ones. And well, there are also storms every once in a while. And then their power output will be ridiculous. Why did I put 2 area power controllers here? For multiple reasons. Well, how deeply should I explain this now? Let's just say this. In an airlock, you should always have an area power controller. No, doesn't matter how proficient you are in this game, you will have one of those in your airlock, end of story. Because when you come home and you want to get in and the airlock is without power, well, what then? Will you open the wall and let the plants die or whatever? That's not the way to go. What you can do then is you can open the APC that you have in your airlock and swap in your own battery.
Power critical.
So they can cycle the airlock, go in, and well, get the battery back. Even if that means that you will be completely without power. I mean, these few seconds, who cares? The airlocks are pretty fast, relatively fast. Right. So let me just cable this up. I want to do it like this. And then I can demonstrate the 2 types of doors that come into play here. Let me turn this on, which now means that this can also be turned on, because now we have something we can smelt. For example, let's smelt a little bit of this ice. Oh, where did it go? The sun melted it, and that's what happened. You see here some pixels flying around. Yeah, that's gas in motion. So if I put that in here, it doesn't do us any good. Oh, it even melts in there? I didn't know that. Let me just do that then. Yeah, I just melted the entire stack at once. That's why you heard that little wind sound there. Yeah, that is for ores, and that's not what that is. That was just frozen gas. So that was wasted. Anyway, where should we continue? Mining some stuff? Or building some airlock? I think airlock is more interesting, huh? Okay, let's do that then. Okay, these are the airlock supplies. And again, it's just a name that this box has. We can actually give it a name. I don't know, Sherlock supplies. Yeah, because there's a label in here. Pretty useful. Later also, particularly for programming. Hey, why do they still have these discs in here? They recently changed the kit console so that we no longer need the disc. Anyway. So let's look at the doors. Oh, the doors, there we go. So our round the corner airlock will need doors now. Once again, the rotation key is above the arrow keys. You can see here this glass door is blocked by the cable straight. Why? Well, this is in the way. That's annoying. Well, then use the composite door. we can see here that this door, inside its green blueprint, its green build ghost, has the door panels which will be moving. And they're small. The glass door has much bigger ones, and so they would basically cut the cable. That's why you can replace this door here. But this door you can place. And always so that these little ghost pins at the bottom, you will see them clearer very soon, are pointing to the inside. That's not an absolute necessity, but it's absolutely meaningful to do it like this. So I could put a composite door right here around the corner, or I could use put a glass door here, and I will do that so we have an example of both. You can see they're not yet built. See, as a beginner, I was a bit annoyed by all these different build stages when you have to build the 3D printer, the autolathe. It's like 3, 4, 5 steps that you have to do until this thing is done. And the old tutorials, not the ones that we have right now, even told me deconstruct the thing here and then rebuild it over here, which meant that I had to go through these whole steps twice. That was so annoying, man. But that's the thing. At some point, you will just have routine, and you will also accept that you're building your reality here. You don't place a door, you're building a door. That's adorable, isn't it? So, how do we do this then? Welding torch and 1 plastic sheet required to continue construction. Welding torch, plastic sheets. And for the glass door, it's the same. And I happen to know that we now need glass sheets, which we put in there with the crowbar. Now, look, we have 14, 12. Now we have 12, 11. So this door uses less glass. Makes sense, right? Yeah, you can still open and close the door with the crowbar. You don't have to hold the glass sheets in the other hand. It's just a coincidence that I'm holding them. So we could now close the station. Yeah, but do we want this? I mean, what good is that? Finally, then we have a secluded place. We don't need this. I mean, currently we don't have a storm or whatever that we might want to protect ourselves from or something. We don't have any dangerous gases that maybe fire or heat that destroys stuff in here. That's not the case. It's pretty lazy. And we need oxygen in here. That's what we need. And if I would now get oxygen in here and then close the doors, we would have another problem. The airlock isn't yet ready for operation. So I would lose some gas every time I use the airlock or try to go outside. So first we need, I mean, we're astronauts. We first need to build the systems that make us survive before we can start doing the thing that we call survival. Alright, so here we have the connection that provides power. You can see the tooltip there on the right. And here the connection for data. Many devices have a power connection. Basically all devices have a data connection, but sometimes the power or data connection and/or data connection are not separate. So if you have a device that only has one connector, we will see one of those very soon, then that is a data and power connection combined. Why is that sometimes separate and sometimes not? Well, for that you would have to understand why we need cable networks. And I think that's a bit too much explanation for now, so let's just continue building everything. To make an airlock, just connect everything with everything. That's the rule to go. And then what? Should I go here? No, that would be bad, because then the next step is I have to go around the corner. And if I do that, then that will be here. I will be going around the corner like this. And that will not stay separate. That will join into one cross. So I have to put the cable differently. Basically, the extra space that I probably gained here by building the airlock around the corner, because that makes the space a bit more efficient, is lost because I'm doing this here also. But okay, it doesn't matter. Now, something that I haven't told you yet is the what the tooltip shows you, the auto rotate key. If you press that, which for you is C, I believe. Anyway, just use your eyes. There's an R for me, so I press R. Then I will auto rotate this thing. What does auto rotate mean? You will see that soon. Anyway, I can hold this down and use the mouse wheel. That's also possible. Now I point down here and use the auto rotate key, and this is all we get, because it's the only thing that's currently meaningful. See? That's useful. Well, the auto rotate implementation isn't optimal, so in this situation it could also make some suggestions which are meaningful, but it doesn't. But anyway, it's still pretty helpful. So if I turn this on now, we have electric doors. But beware. Kit door, which can build the glass door. For example, here we have the glass door. Base power usage, 10 watts. Do we want to waste 10 watts while we're leaving the doors open the whole time anyway at this moment? No, we don't. So I leave the things off. And what was it with the kit glass door, kit door? What else is in there? Well, the composite door, which we also built. The composite roll cover, which isn't a door at all. It's just like a wall, like a glass wall. Only the purpose is to place it on an already existing wall. Right, like the frame down here at the bottom, which isn't a wall, it's kind of behind the wall. It's on the other side, it's in the neighbor box. Why? Because then you can open it, close it, it's a little roll cover, so you have access to logic chips or whatever you place there. Then we have the manual hatch, which is a door that isn't electrified. You can open and close it with this wheel here, and it's pretty heavy. If you're standing in the wrong place when you close it, that can destroy your spacesuit. Pretty dangerous. And there's the floor hatch, which can be placed on the ceiling or floor. And yes, we also have ladders, so you can really climb through that. And yes, it will also protect you from water, so you can basically build a little submarine. I've never done that, by the way. A submarine-shaped base. Now there's an idea. Anyway, so now you have seen the Stationpedia here for a bit. Maybe you wanna... Oh, this thing is logic values? Oh, that's a mistake. Well, it's an early access game. You will have seen some pattern here, the layout, and some sections here seem to be the same every time. Here we can see the kit door. If I click here, I go back to the kit from which I came towards, I don't know, for example, the composite door. So you can always click back and forth. And you have to understand the distinction. The kit is the item that you hold in your hand with which you build something, where you then use the mouse wheel to select what it is that you're building. And that's the thing that comes out of your 3D printer. This here is the structure, the thing that is built in the world, structure glass door. This is also important to distinguish when you're programming. So what's happening here? This is a pain sound, basically. It's a bit lame, honestly, still in this early access stage, of you being too thirsty. We need to drink something. Now, you don't have to panic. In easy mode, which we're playing right now, you can just hold the water bottle here from your jumpsuit in your hand and drink. And that's it. The breathing will stop soon. And I can keep holding it down, but it doesn't have any drink effect right now. Only when I release. In other words, when you're in a pickle like this, you want to just drink a sip and then fill up the rest. While we're at it, let's eat something. Yes, we also have money, because there's also traders. You can build a trading platform, maybe with a landing, what's the word? Tarmac? Oh, actually I don't know the word right now. Where the plane has to land, but many traders don't need that. Some traders need an actual hangar with their personal atmosphere, which you then have to supply, yet it has to be open when they land, so have fun filling and emptying that whole thing, for which we have really powerful vents that can do such a thing. And then you can buy and sell, and depending on which trader you get, that's the stuff that you can then buy and sell. And so there's even a little economy in here, and that can be fun. And you can even kind of automate that to some degree. So, now we have the doors here to make an airlock. What is missing then? The ability to pump gas from this room into this room. You know, when I leave here, I want to close this up, make a vacuum here, and then go out here, so that I'm not losing my valuable gases in here. So let's look at the airlock supplies. Do we have a pump here? Sherlock supplies. Active vent, that's the one. Of course. So, where do we put this then? Well, I can put that possibly, for example, here. Here I need to join cables, so I'm using the wire cutters on the other hand. So this thing is now here. But what does it do? It would suck into the from the room, or would blow into the room. And here's the pipe connection. Aha, so we need a pipe now. Not necessarily. Here we have pipes. They work, like I said, exactly like the cables. Oh, we even have very long ones, is what she said. But then we have these ones, and you can rotate them, but you can just use the wrench in the other hand, and the tooltip will tell you that, so don't panic. But we don't need those at all right now. Because while you cannot connect devices directly to each other, you would have to have a pipe in between them. While you cannot do that, same for electrical connections, you would have to have a cable between them. The passive vent counts as a pipe. And so you can place that, you can see that here, directly next to it. If I use the auto-rotate key, it will now give me the only meaningful rotation, and you can see it's yellow, so it can be built here. If I come from here, then it would be like this. But what is the use of sucking from this room and then blowing into this room right away? It doesn't make sense. So, there we go. Now the airlock can suck from here and pump back into this room. So what else is missing? Well, nothing. We now have actually an airlock that would be working. So let's use the airlock. Just, for demonstration purposes. And look at the pressure with our nice tablet here. And then we can look here with the mouse. Oh, isn't there a mouse? Isn't there a tooltip here? Oh, there's no tooltip while we're holding this thing. I didn't know that. Here we can click on set inward. This is present tense. So it's saying, if you click here, it will set that to inward. And click again, set that to outward. And here we turn that thing on. What does it mean, inward or outward? Does it have to do with the room that we're in, because it's into the room or whatever? No. Because of course the designers of the game couldn't know where you would place that. This will always set inward, will say set inward when your goal is, now it is set to inward, when your goal is to get gases from here into the thing. It will now suck from the room. And now we're dry, because the pressure was really low, we're already done. By the way, I should swap the battery, because this one is already charged by the sun. During this never-ending day that I have cheated. Anyway. So, yeah, we are now in a vacuum. And if I open this now, we get a very weak explosive decompression. Yeah, so we now have a working airlock. But wait a second.
Waste tank caution.
What now? Yeah, exactly. We don't have the tools really right now to make a proper airlock, because we would have to evacuate it again. We're getting some Martian air into our station every time we are cycling the airlock back to the inside, because we don't yet have a way to evacuate that. We have to get another active vent somehow. Is there one in these supplies? No, there isn't. There's also only this airlock board, which once I've put it in this console on the wall, can then control the airlock automatically, instead of me having to rely that I don't push the wrong button in the wrong order. And then we also need the gas sensor, which tells this thing whether there's still gas in there. And this is not a toy or tool or fake or whatever. This is a real gas sensor. I mean, as real as it can be in the game. Let's look at the sensors here. There's the gas sensor. It can measure what gases and what pressure are in the cell where it is placed and where it is facing. And you can also use that with logic. You can see down there this connector. So you can measure that yourself when you build custom airlocks or whatever you want to do. For example, when you want some certain gas mixture for your greenhouse, lots of CO2, little O2, whatever floats your boat. Because the plants, of course the plants need their certain gases. This is Stationeers. So let's look at the organics and food. Here we have the various foods that you can grow: tomatoes, potatoes, mushrooms, which need total darkness, rice, soybeans, which you can use to make soy oil, which will be used then to make canned food. Or, well, let's look at potatoes, which are, of course, for Martians, the thing we think of the first. Potato. Blah, 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 blah. And down here we have the parameters. You can see what it breathes. It breathes in CO2, this and this many moles per hour, and it breathes out oxygen. So this thing actually can convert the gas that we have here back into something that we can breathe. That's good news. That's pretty good news. Yep. Here we have some gases that are toxic to it, that it doesn't like. Down here we have somewhere I think it is written how much of that toxic gas needs to be present until it actually counts as effectively toxic. Or maybe that was only in the plant analyzer cartridge, I don't know. Here we can see minimum darkness and minimum light per day. And day here means 20 minutes, so yeah. Without day-night cycle fuckery here, that's a bit iffy. Yeah, so that's the gas sensor. Then we have the occupancy sensor, which detects whether someone is in this room. What do I mean by room? Well, the game detects whether we have some enclosed space. Even if the window would still be open, not yet completely built, that would count as a room because you have placed the object there. This is room 8, whatever that means. It's just the internal game database. This is room 7, and this is the world. So as soon as someone is in here in this room, the occupancy sensor would fire. Maybe we can demonstrate that. Why not? Oh, I haven't yet closed up this wall. Let's use the ceiling then. We can see right here, it is gray. Now we'll enter the room, and we can see, well, slightly, gray, green. And it stays green, because the occupancy sensor detects whether you're in the room. But there's also the so-called motion sensor, which detects whether someone is in this box. Or you could even, place it here. That would also work if someone walks past here within this virtual box space. Then gas sensor, then occupancy sensor, then proximity sensor. You can define a distance here, and if anyone is closer to than that, this thing will fire. So this will also be showing green. So you can turn off the lights when people are too far from the station to benefit from the light inside the station, or from the station being lit like right over there. And the daylight sensor, which detects whether there's light in this respective box from the sun, can also tell you the angle of the sun, horizontal and vertical, around the planet, which is important to control your solar panels. Not these ones, of course, but the ones that can be controlled. And then you have to copy that data into the solar panels. Maybe you have to rotate that a bit by adding 90 degrees or subtracting 90s and stuff like that. Yep. Anything else? No, that was the kit sensor. That's already all of it. So we would need a gas sensor in here. Good to know. Where will I place that? Somewhere. Doesn't really matter. Maybe down here on the floor. Why not? They can also be spray painted. Like basically all things in the game can be spray painted. Alrighty, now we need the console if you want to automate the airlock. But the basic airlock chip that I have in there doesn't allow for the airlock that we actually want to build. It only allows for the airlock that we have so far, the one that only pumps in here, not the opposite direction. For that you need the advanced airlock chip, which you can print with the electronics printer, which you can print with the auto lathe, which we have here. But for all that you need resources in ingot form, which we have to make with the arc furnace, for which we first need to mine. So let's place the console here on the wall. You can see here, that's kind of what it looks like. If I use a mouse wheel, we see that same thing exists also in the double connector variant, and this is one of those golden examples. Here, this is the one that we normally use, I guess. I guess that's what most people use, where power and data is combined. Here, we would have data and power separate. You can then still connect the two cables that are coming out of this one, sure, but if you have the option then to use this one instead, then of course you use this one. It's just meaningless. Why would you separate this? Why would we even separate things at all? Let's talk about cable networks for a moment. And actually, yes, let's use the cable network analyzer, which I have somewhere here, I guess. Here. Network analyzer. Alright, so I will now measure here, and what do we see? We see the arc furnace and the area power controller. Because that's all we have on this cable network. Then we have the cable that's coming from the solar panel. I have to find that first. Right, here. Here you can see this cable network has the solar panel, of course, the area power controller, the other area power controller, because both of them are being fed by the solar panel. And then we have the active vent, and I just realized, oh my god, and I really didn't notice, honestly. The active vent is ill-placed. If it's connected like that, it will not be controlled by the console, because that's a different cable network. That's not where the data can see anything. Good thing that I checked that. Well, and on this side we have the area power controller from the other side, glass door, composite door, and gas sensor. So yeah, cable networks. That was the gist of it, what a cable network does. Oh, another thing, if you overload the cable, it will burn out, but the game simulation is a bit simplified. If I have on this cable network somewhere, supply that is like 100,000 watts, even though these can only withstand 5,000, not a problem. But if the overall consumption also reaches or exceeds 5,000, then that leads to cable burnout, and that will happen in a random place of that cable network. Not in the particular place where you would imagine the load actually currently is taking place. You can place fuses. Let me show you the fuses. There we have the kit fuse, cable fuse. 1 kilowatt, 5 kilowatt, 50, 100, 500. So you can just place that on a cable, use the mouse wheel, select the strength that you want. And then, if the cable network has an overload anywhere, then the fuse will blow in that very place where it is placed. Not a random cable, but this cable. Of course, if you place the fuse stupidly, then the overall load might still somewhere be over 5,000 watts. I'm saying you have to place it strategically. What you can also do later, you can place transformers. There are various kinds, but that's just various sizes, you know. I know it's a lot at once that I'm throwing at you, but I'm showing you options, possibilities. You don't have to retain all of this knowledge. You just have to... Well, at some point you will need such a thing, and then something in your head would say, will navigate you to this because you know you have heard it sometime. So the transformer allows you, also separates cable networks, just like the area power controller does. The fuse doesn't. The fuse is just protection. And then you can use a dial here to define how much power gets through it. So you can, for example, define that maximum 5,000 watts go through the cable. So what if your load is higher? Then you will get brownouts. Devices will not get enough power. But nothing will explode. I mean, at least not cable network related. Depending on what you have built there, what devices have to actually run there to keep your station in balance, yeah, there may be explosions. Okay, let me fix this stupid mistake here. Oh, yeah, that's fine. See, the tool belt here doesn't benefit from being in your belt slot. The mining belt, though, does. So that's like kind of the first move that you do when you're starting a playthrough. I need a wrench here. And that's something that many people also take offense with, that you have to use so many different tools. Well, it's just, it's an acquired taste. Console? Wait, what am I doing? I need the active vent. Like this, maybe. Have you seen what I just did? That was very quick, right? Because the auto-rotate key was very helpful. And it's just sleepwalking at some point in time. Okay, is this thing powered? It is. So far, actually, it was powered by the solar panel. That was fun. Anyway, we no longer need that cable and really don't want to use it. How do I connect the console then now? Is it... I don't see the console. Oh, there it is. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's just say here, for example. Okay, now the airlock can be configured. You see that it's flashing an error because it is not yet configured. On the left side we have a screw. Whoop, and that was actually a disk slot so far. That's why we still have a disk in there. That's old stuff that we no longer need. Now we have to select all the devices that should be part of the airlock logic. You can have more devices on here which are not part of the airlock. You shouldn't. The airlock should be able to run on minimal power here. You know, when you come back to your station, you want to be able to get in. So you don't want to connect other devices here. But in principle, you could, and they would then be selectable here. And some of them can actually be selected, like a light, for example. If you select a light here, then when you cycle the airlock, the light will turn on. You will have 2 seconds pause or something. Then the airlock will cycle. So you can use that as a warning, for example, if you use a flashing light that goes round and round. But other devices that are not really part of an airlock will also be listed here, and you can't select them then. So now I have to select the active vent, which is currently easy, because this airlock is simple. There's only one potential active vent to select. I mean, even if I have 10 active vents selected here, well, I'm explaining too much at once. Okay, now we have to select which of these doors will be the exterior door, or we can select the gas sensor first, doesn't matter. We know that the glass door is the exterior door, and the composite door is the interior door. But you don't need that knowledge. You can also just select it, see, oh, this one is currently disabled, or whatever. Or the airlock, this is now connected to the airlock, you can see that here. And this one is just still a door. A free open door. And you can see here that the other one is now saying composite door interior. If I select this, this will make the composite door the interior door of the airlock logic. See? But apart from these tricks, I mean distinguishing the door types or just looking at what is being shown here, whether it's locked already, you can also do something else. You can use the labeler, which is cool even when you're doing this here, because that text will be showing up there. And so now, if I select this, you can see one is saying glass door and the other is saying airlock, because it's the name I gave this thing. So that's one of the ways in which you can do that. Glass door, airlock. And now the airlock is ready for action. What it's currently doing is it's trying to repressurize this room up to a level of 100 kilopascals. You can see the pressure is increasing, and then it will let me in. And that is pretty fucking annoying. You cannot get out of this. However, once you have the advanced airlock, which will also allow you to have 2 active vents so you can properly separate the atmospheres, you will also have 2 boxes up here where you can select the repressurization value for both sides. And I just set that to 0, and then we're fine. Explosive decompression, that's fine in most cases. And now it achieves a pressure of 5 kilopascals. How is it doing that? The outside pressure was 2 kilopascals. Where's all that gas coming from? Well, you can see how big the station is, right? Oh, and I see some walls are still open, so that's a thing I forgot. So that's the next thing we should deal with, actually. Yeah, even if the station would be closed, we could achieve a higher pressure in here than 2 kilopascals, because it can keep sucking until there's no more gas anywhere in there, because it always spreads out and wafts around. But anyway, that's not what we want to do here. And what I can do is well, let's first turn off the configuration thing here. You can see here what it's doing, pressurize. I can cancel the cycle, and then it will just open. And I can also leave. Now it's doing the opposite, depressurize, then cycle to exterior. So it doesn't have a repressurization cycle for this opposite side. But all of that is stupid. We don't want to do that now. So we'll just deconfigure the airlock so the doors are free again. And now we'll start mining so we can get that problem solved. We need iron, gold, and copper. How would you know that? Well, these are very fundamental things. Copper for cables, gold for... Well, is gold do it? Of course you need gold. We always need gold. Well, now there's a sad circumstance. My waste tank is full, or almost full. We're getting the warning when it's almost full. And when it has reached 4 megapascals, then the pump is too weak to fill it up further. I mean, the tanks themselves, they explode only when they have 10 megapascals or more. And there are some smart canisters in the game which are kind of like these. They have the same volume, but they are stronger, so they can withstand 20 megapascals pressure. Same for these guys, 10 megapascals, but this one is an advanced one which I believe can take 20 megapascals, but don't take it to the bank, look it up here. Anyway, by the way, you can pause the game if you wish. Or you can just press escape, which also pauses the game. And then read up in here. But the suit's pump cannot go further, and I have no means currently to save this gas. This is lost now. But what is it that we're really losing there? Is it so bad? Some O2, so that's not nice. But the temperature overall is 69 degrees. You don't want to breathe for that. It's bad for your lungs. You can eat a pill which will heal you somewhat, I believe. So we have to open the canister, which will equalize its pressure with the environment. And once it's done doing so, it will close automatically. It will not do that. It will not do that when it's here on the ground and you click it open like this. Or when you see it was just closed. You heard that sound, right? Or when you open it here. But this is a special circumstance, so you don't forget that. It's just convenience. Now we have some space again where the gas can go, I guess. So let's mine some stuff then. Oxygen, that seems good, but first we need materials. What good is oxygen if you can't keep it? We need iron to be able to close up those walls. And yeah, well, there's always clusters, so you should dig a little deeper. And the shadows in Stationeers, they really suck. I mean, everybody hates these, but the developers insist they want them like this because it feels better or whatever. Okay. And I'm not ripping them a new asshole here. Again, we love these guys and we interact with them on Discord regularly. I have had 1 or 2 chats with Dean Hall, the CEO, in a private chat, talking about some stuff. And so they're very approachable, but I mean, you don't want to waste that time, please, of course. Oh, look at that, we already have a lot of iron. Maybe I want to start smelting that already, so that we find an empty furnace when we want to smelt the rest. Okay, so let's put that in here. Oh, wrong side. Turn on, put in, find joy. And now, we will also have some gases excreted here from the furnace. Different temperature and all that. This guy, if you interrupt it or just wait for long enough, would spit out an iron ingot. Where do we even use this one? Well, in the construction supplies, where are they? Here. We also have the autolathe. That's the 3D printer, the main one. I mean, if you start a Stationeers playthrough and you don't have access to an autolathe and an arc furnace, you can't complete it. It's impossible. Just thinking about the best strategic placement to save space. It looks good. I can get in, I can operate the thing, and it's not using too much space. So let's complete the construction of that thing, which isn't complicated once you got the hang of it. There. See, really, it's just a routine thing. Now we have the autolathe built. I will cable it up. And now we could use it. And actually, I could now use it to actually already print iron sheets. So let's select something here. Sheet, iron sheets. For that we need iron. We have iron, like a lion. Inside. And so we can now print iron sheets. And once we have a stacker, this will be looking much more orderly than it will be looking after this. Okay, let's mine some more stuff. Yeah, that's very necessary. I forgot to mention silicon. Not that we need it right now, but we will need it soon enough. And so, since I'm just seeing that, let's take it. Again, there's a cluster here always, which will also discolorize the soil. There we can see it. This is not the normal soil color, yep. So maybe the best approach is not to actually dig the first thing that you see, but to dig around it and dig down and take that stuff first, if you really want to be thorough. Do the ores restore at some point? No. The amount of resources in the world is finite. But there's other ways to get ores. There's deep miners, which will give you an infinite amount of ores, but they will only give you the ore that is suitable for their area. There's a scanner for that, where that you can use to find out what the region will yield. And you can also get ores from space. Then there's another quirk here. The ores that I'm mining right now here, they have gas. There's some gas in there, which you can look up once again in Stationepedia. So if you wish, you can actually get oxygen by mining gold, for example. But if you shove these through a centrifuge, then that will separate out the gas. And the ores that you get from the deep miners, which mine from below the soil, where you cannot go yourself, those will already be degassed. So there's no infinite gas source here. Which is another reason why Mars as the first world makes sense, because of course the atmosphere itself is infinite. But guess what? The developers have already implemented the necessary mechanics for terraforming. And that will be an expansion that will come out after version 1.0 in a few years. But most of that is already finished. And we experimented with that stuff already, with plants that were all over the planet, with changing the atmosphere to a different mixture, so we have a different greenhouse effect, different temperatures, maybe a Mars with oxygen that I could breathe with the helmet open, that kind of stuff. That's all in here already. You just don't have access to it, because, well, that's the product, obviously. Okay, that's enough plastic for now. How about we get some, what's its name? Copper and gold is the next thing on the agenda. There is some more iron. And plastic takes particularly long, so let's do that then. Save. I have my autosave off. Oh, by the way, has it printed something? It has. It has printed something. Like I said, you can use a stacker instead, but we don't have one yet. And nor do I have the patience or space to build one now. I mean, it's pretty chaotic in here, isn't it? Okay, now we have 50 of these from a 50 stack of iron. That makes sense. Maybe we can close things up now? Well, I have only 10 windows. I don't know if I can close things up now. I think we're actually closed now. Let me check. Yep, the station is now sealable. We could now get some oxygen in this bitch. Let's shut this down. Okay, music, you're a bit too low level. Let's do something else instead. Gold and copper, please. Is there a copper field here somewhere? Iron is very easy to find. Ah, there's gold. That's gold. That is lead. If I... Yeah, that's something that we need for programming. I will not get so deeply into this playthrough here as to show you that stuff. Also, I will just give it this jump start. And basically, I mean, we're already done. I explained to you lots of stuff. All that follows here is me demonstrating how to then implement it. There's of course more demonstrations and explanations here, but you already have everything that you need to start. Well, if you need some oxygen in your station, you will mine of course some oxide. I mean, I already showed you that. There's oxygen in there, and then you toss it down in the sunlight and that will melt. Yep. And if you do that too much, then your station will overpressurize and the walls will get damaged and then will be blown out and all that nice oxygen is gone. And in the process of the depressurization, some of your items will be blown out of your station and you have to pick them up again from the outside. Yep. What? Wasn't that clear? It's all simulated. Honestly, this is a bit annoying. Let's pick some different music then. Atmospheric brakes. Yeah, it's also a bit diddly-dee. No thanks. Brakes then. I've never heard this kind of music on this channel, honestly. Sometimes I'm just not lucky. Universe, what are you doing? It's not what it made you for. Gold, yeah, that's enough gold for now. Do we have some copper nearby? That is lead. One thing led to another, and that is more lead, that is more gold, I would say. Yep. Gold will take some time. That's plastic. I will need that soon enough right here, I guess. That can, for example, be used to print some glass. Gold, yeah, definitely copper is needed. I'm glad that I have so much of the gold. Yucky music. Somehow it's icky. It's, yeah, the mining part is the least favorite part of most of the players, I guess. It depends. If you're playing multiplayer, there will always be someone who is eager to just go and mine, and that's great. I'm not saying they're stupid or whatever. But I mean, alone, when I play... Oh, look, silver. When I play alone, the mining part, I guess, and I guess that's what other people think also... Oh, nickel, look at that. is not quite the favorite part of the gameplay. How do we even know where we are? Well, the one thing I showed you is the tracker, which I conveniently don't have with me anymore. Another is, look down here, we have a compass. 360 degrees, which can also not get confused somehow. And maybe you saw that the tracker tablet, which again I don't have with me right now, also showed coordinates, GPS coordinates in the world, so you can just remember those then. Man, there's just way too fucking much iron here. But enough copper, and that's what we came for. I guess I should show you how we make steel. So what do we do now? Well, I don't know, I have no space left. Oh, I have the error. That's fortunate. Yep, now I'm full. Actually, am I? Also, what about this then? I mean, not everything fits in every slot, but the tablet counts as a tool. And so, we now have 2 extra slots that I can fill with stuff. Huh. I could get some more iron, not that I really want to. You will stay here. And there is the station, easy to see why I use the compass. Oh, wait until there's night, let alone storm, then it doesn't matter whether it's day or night, you won't see anything. There are different kinds of storms. There's an ash storm on Vulcan, here we get dust storms, and on Vulcan we also get solar storms, which we can also get on the moon, so even the moon has storms. Solar storm just means that the sun will be disproportionately bright and everything will be much brighter, and this will also heat you up. Because guess what? You saw that the suit gets warmer. Was that me being so warm? No, that is, well, let's see, EVA suit. That's the EVA suit's thermal convection value. The temperature around me, plus the sun radiating into the suit. Yeah, all that plays a role. And there are various spacesuits. Not like we have one spacesuit and that's it. No. This is Stationeers. Okay, that's gold. Let's do this then also, because copper is what I definitely need. Can I already print the pipe bender? No, I need copper for that, 10 grams. Which are the printers that we need then? Let's look at those. Fabricators. Here you can see all the fabricators that exist, and of these we already know the autolathe a bit, where we build basic printing materials, like iron sheets, steel frames. We can also print the deep miner, but not yet. This thing would have to be upgraded to its second stage. There are only 2 stages. There's only one upgrade. And this upgrade you print with the electronics printer. Then you upgrade the electronics printer with that upgrade, and then the upgraded electronics printer can print the other upgrades. So you need the autolathe and the electronics printer. This one makes cables and lights, and what else does it make? For example, the advanced airlock chip. Pretty sure. Then we have the hydraulic pipe bender, which can make, for example, the active vent. So we need both of these to get the more advanced airlock. But we need both of these anyway all the time. So with this one, you print this one and this one. Definitely, definitely, definitely. And then you will also soon print the tool manufactory, because with that you can make, for example, a better mining drill. Then we have the security printer, which can, for example, make explosives. We have some explosives already in our landing gear, which is, by the way, great for mining. That's its purpose. They are mining charges. The rocket manufactory is for materials that you use to build rockets. The automated oven is not a manufactory per se, it is a converter, so to speak, but aren't these also? Where you toss in, I don't know, potatoes, and then what comes out is baked potatoes. Then the advanced packaging machine can be used to create cans with food, but I think there's also the simple packaging machine. Still haven't used it in eternity. Basic packaging machine, yeah. And all the things go up here, because if you think you have to put something down here, no, that's not how it works. All ingredients go up here. Okay, I mean, I could talk for hours and hours over this game and give you ideas of how it works without you really being able to retain it, because it's just so much stuff, it's impossible to just remember. And unless you have really played it. So, let's make the bender. Oh, iron. Oh, right, I used up all the iron. And now we're printing the hydraulic pipe bender. And if this thing reaches 99% and I cut a cable, whoops, that's it, the entire print is gone. But we didn't lose any resources. It only consumes electricity. Yep, that's what it is. I mean, I've explained a lot of things here. If you're going this far yourself, remembering a lot of the things that I explained to you, you will then also... what's the word? Well, you will not just do what I did, but you will be conscious, you will be thinking, you will be deciphering, puzzling. You might even realize that some things that I've done here are just stupid. Why is the guy doing it like this? Well, I don't know. Maybe some things I did here are actually stupid and I never saw that. It's possible. But anyway, from there then you will also get to the advanced airlock, because you have seen now how that works in principle. You have seen how you build a manufactory. I mean, all of that stuff you already know. In other words, I want to leave you alone now, because these are the basics. And, well, just a few words on the furnace then. Maybe you should play the furnace tutorial, which exists. That's why it exists. If you don't play the tutorials in a game like this, and then show up in the forums, hey, this basic thing that is explained in the tutorials, even though I don't know that because I didn't play them, doesn't work, can you help me there? Then you're stupid. I mean, just play the fucking tutorials, man. This game is for hardcore players, so you can be expected to at least play the voluntary short tutorial courses. Sorry, what else I'm supposed to say? You don't know the knowledge? Well, then gain the knowledge. It's in here. It's right there. Anyway, so here we can build the furnace, and then if we want to use the furnace to make one of the most important things ever... Advanced ingots? No, we need the advanced furnace for that. Here, the alloys. That's what we can make with the simple furnace. And these ones also. These ones can be done with the arc furnace. The arc furnace cannot do these or these. The furnace can do these and these. The advanced furnace can do all three tiers. So when we want to make steel, you can see here you need the advanced furnace, but keep scrolling, the order here is just a bit stupid. We also can use the furnace. What you need is a temperature of 900 kelvins or 627 degrees Celsius. Is the same except shifted by 273.15 degrees. Up to 100,000 kilokelvin, up to 100 kilokelvin, and that temperature is basically never reached. So if you read a high value like this, you know it has to be at least this. Period. That's how you remember this. So for steel you need a pressure of at least 900, a temperature of at least 900 K, and a pressure of at least 1 megapascals. The megapascals you can easily achieve. You just toss some volatiles, ice in there, and some oxide ice, 2/3, you know, like I showed you in the welder, and then you push the button that ignites the furnace, and then you will have this thing burning. And if you did it wrong, probably your station will explode. I mean, there's an adventure, okay? You have to learn how to operate these things. But it's easy to have a pressure this greater than 1 megapascal. It's generally what you have. The pressure, the temperature also, but when you then toss in a 3/3 iron and 1/3 carbon, aka coal, which you can mine here, or like for example 48 iron and 16 coal, or 3 full stacks of iron and 1 full stick of coal. See, 2 3/3, 1/3. When you then do that, this will have to be absorbed by the furnace, which will then cool down in the process, and will also achieve a much higher pressure because the things that you mine by hand have gas, and that will then be degassed and will be part of the thermal mass in there. And so, well, all of that needs to be considered and experimented with. And then you get, I mean, when you play this game and enjoy it, and then you make your first steel, and you then use that to print the station battery, the big bad motherfucker that's in your station that can store so much more power than these, then you will be pretty happy. But that is only the beginning.